Okay, a 16-foot door or an 18-foot door.
Yeah.
I think guys, this looks great. This is the ultimate man cave here. I love what you've done.
They've done a really good job on this one.
What do you guys have going on here with all these tape measures?
Okay, well, again, the most important design element of a custom home that we do is the garage. You've got to have the right size because you've got to get vehicles in, storage, and also a little bit of man cave equipment. A garage is extremely important with measurements.
Yeah, we need to measure here. Thanks, Izzy, for your...
Yeah.
By the way, this thing's blank.
Lonnie, the other side.
Oh, I'm sorry, they turned it over. But sometimes you set the water heater and the furnace in your garage. And you need to allow at least 2 feet for the water heater and the furnace.
And don't forget the bollard. That's another foot there, so 3 foot.
Like I said, 3 foot.
Now, one thing I know is we got to consider the depth of a car. My car's about 17 feet. What about some of the other cars you know that would have to fit?
The big thing you got to look at is not even what kind of car, but what kind of an SUV or what kind of truck. Because if you're getting into some of these newer Suburbans or Expeditions, you're getting into the 20-foot range, and the most popular vehicle on the road is a pickup truck with a double cab, with a normal bed, and you're looking 19 and a half foot with that.
With a towing hitch on the back, too.
Okay, 19 and a half, 20 foot with that.
Mike, you would say that.
Yeah.
A Chevrolet Trailblazer is 15 feet, 11 inches long.
Okay. Well, I know I can get a couple Mini Coopers inside by front ways this way, too. But one thing we have to really consider is your truck. How big is your truck?
It's every bit of that 20 foot plus the hitch on the back end.
See, I don't think yours would ever fit.
I think it can fit in here. I think we should try it.
I don't think it would fit.
Let's try it out here. I'll go get it.
Okay, let's go see. I don't think it's going to fit.
Oh, this is not going to end
What does
well.
it say on that?
So they want to test your truck to see if it fits in there?
Yeah.
You think it's going to fit?
That's what we're talking about today is garages for this whole episode.
Which is my favorite, room of the whole house,
Same
which
here.
is the garage.
Yep.
Okay, stop. Good, perfect.
I am telling you right now, it's not going to fit.
It's
gonna fit.
It's going to fit.
Lonnie, measure twice, cut once.
Guys, this is one of the most important things when it comes to garages is does the car or truck or RV that they're driving fit in the garage they're designing?
It's going to fit.
It's going to fit.
I think it is.
I grew up on a farm. I've been driving trucks all my life. We're good. It's going to fit.
See?
It's not
Guys,
gonna
I don't
fit. Okay,
care.
go ahead.
I don't care about the garage. I can't get a garage door for a whole year. I can't.
put it down. It's
Guys,
not-
if it doesn't
it's gonna
fit, and this garage door
You
gets
break
ruined.
it. This is a
guys.
$70,000 car, Mike.
No.
Please. Oh, no.
No. Okay,
Well,
Mike,
there's that.
you bought the truck. Wait. Oh, did you see this come? Wait.
Look at this.
Oh, that's a BMW i8 right there.
Guys, I didn't tell you about this, but I called my buddy Addison from Sweet Cars to told him to bring something out for the man cave. I think he came through.
Wow. Oh, this is beautiful.
Can we play my favorite game?
What?
Will it fit in the garage?
Yeah.
I don't think it will.
Can we try it?
That'll fit.
We already ruined a garage door. We can't ruin this
No,
car.
let's try it.
Addison,
Okay,
we're gonna try
okay, let's try it.
Addison, do you care?
Hey, move out. Let's go.
Perfect. Let's do this.
Welcome to Between the Studs. We are Granite Ridge Builders, custom builders serving northern Indiana, northwest Ohio, and also parts of southern Michigan. We have been building custom homes for almost 2 decades, and we're really passionate about what we do. So join us today as we explore the processes, the trends, and also tips that characterize today's new home. Thanks for watching.
Wow.
I don't know how you got the passenger seat in that car.
Amazing.
Crazy.
Hey, you guys did a great job setting this up. Welcome back. Today's show is all about garages. I mean, how much better can we get than what we set this up? We've got a bar, we've got sofa, we've got an unbelievable car. So we're going to talk about garages today. We're going to give you a 120-year history of the garage. Can you believe it's not even that old?
Wow.
But did you know this is now called the new front door, the garage door? 71% of the people now come through the garage to get into the house. They don't even use the front door.
You know, I can't even find my front door key anymore.
Hey, did you know this? In a man cave, 40% of garages now have some version of a man cave, or well, I should say she cave too.
And a recent study showed that over 1 million people every weekend watch sports out in their garage. So it's a huge hangout.
I think it'd be more than that.
Because the spouse kicked them out.
But to say, who's the doghouse?
And like Tony said, about 120 years ago, we had these carriage houses, place for the horse or the buggy. And then around the turn of the century, it moved to a garage. And by 1915, 8% of homes had a garage. It may be in the backyard, it may be attached. By 1940, it moved to 30%. And then by 1960, 50%. And then something happened. Homeowner associations and neighborhoods began to say, we want a garage attached to the house. And so by 2000, 80% of homes had a garage. And today, more than 90% of homes have a garage attached to the
And
house.
they started out, they wanted vehicles in them. Now nobody parks their vehicles in them because they need storage.
Well, that goes back to what you're talking about with the shed. But now 1 in 4 Americans are saying their garage is too cluttered. 24% of Americans are ashamed to open their garage door. They're going to work early so that the neighbors don't see what's going on.
Stop.
1/5 of all American couples argue over the disorganization that's in the garage every single
How many
year.
times have I told you it is so unorganized?
Let's see.
I know where everything is.
Okay, can we do counseling later?
You brought it up, Tony.
And over 1/2 of all Americans really wish they had a garage that the neighbors would envy.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about the garage door itself. If you're looking at the front of your home, 1/3 of what you're seeing tends to be the garage door itself. So that is a huge part of the front of your home. That will really make a very big difference on the architectural style, whether you pick a certain style of garage door, the color of your garage door, if it has windows or not. It really is a big deal in the overall look of your home.
Yeah, it's something you'll see a lot of times before someone sells a house is they're going to go and refresh their garage door.
Yeah.
It's a great way to get a great bump on your investment.
In fact, I think somebody said you can almost get a 10% return if
believe.
you have a good garage.
Yeah?
Now, let's talk about the garage door opener.
Oh.
So the garage door opener became widely popular in the 1970s, but we have to rewind even further to when it was invented. And it was actually invented not too far away from here, in Hartford City, Indiana, in 1926.
That's where I was born, Hartford City. Yeah.
And that was the
year he was born.
1926. Come on.
And it was just a few years after that the garage door opener, about 5 years after that, was invented.
And a garage can be a place of creation and innovation. There's been several very large bands that have started in garages. You know, we got
wait.
Metallica, Van Halen, not Van Hagar, the Beatles, Creep, Uncle Steve's band.
Wait.
Yeah.
35 years, right? In a garage you started. Okay.
Also, the Rolling Rebels. That was my band. That's my band.
Wait, who else locally has started?
Sweetwater Sound got its start
I
out
thought
of
he had-
that
wait, I thought he
Volkswagen
started
bus.
in a bus.
Well, you had to park it somewhere, right?
It was in a garage. Well, that makes sense. The garage wasn't.
So if Sweetwater started there, couldn't you at least say that Sweet Cars started from a garage too?
I could make that argument. I would say.
Okay.
There's a lot of large tech industry titans that have made their start in garages as well. You know, you got Apple, Google, Amazon, any giant tech that you can think of really started in a garage. Disney, Harley Davidson,
Whoa.
Yankee Candles.
Wow.
Started in a garage.
So what you guys are saying is the garage is the most important room in any new home, and especially a custom home where you can design your garage. This is where they would want to come and talk to, because we do know garages. In fact, after this, we're going to really know a garage, a man cave. So you know what? We got a lot more to talk about, a lot of history. Let's go and talk a little bit about that. What do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know. I might.
Can I get the keys
Mike,
to the
we had the baby
BMW?
pieces.
I think so.
You got it.
All right, Kayla, so garages. So first let's define garages, and then we can really get into everything that garages have become today. So a garage is typically a roof structured with walls with the intent of storing either vehicles or possessions in.
Yeah, and we got the word garage from the French word gare.
I think you need to work on your French a little bit.
Don't know really how to pronounce that, but it was introduced to the English in 1902, and then that's where we got the phrase from, and we've teamed it ever since.
Yeah, so before 1902, between about 1850 to 1902, really what was referred to as carriage houses.
Yes.
And it was a structure that was separated from the house that typically stored the carriage, because then they didn't really have vehicles, or it stored horses.
Yeah, and then it's evolved since then with several different time periods here going forward.
Yeah, so then 1902 is when it kind of started coming into the word garage.
Yes.
Architects really like that name a little bit better than the carriage, but we kind of like the name carriage house a little bit better, and we still do carriage houses on some of our estate-sized lots. And then fast forwarding, you get into about 1908, and then detached garages really came into play.
Yes.
And the reason they were detached was a couple of reasons. The fumes, the smells that the vehicles were producing would leach inside the house if it was attached. and then fires, like you mentioned, were big.
So some other names that we would call all those detached garages were motor homes, car barns, but architects really ended up finding that garages were the best term.
Right, and in 1908, Sears came up with what they called a portable garage.
Yeah.
So they could move that around. So then moving forward, we kind of started attaching the garage to the house, which kind of changed things for us a bit.
Absolutely, and that was in about 1945, I believe, is when attached garages became popular. And as we mentioned in the beginning segments, now 90% of the homes have an attached garage.
Right. And when the detached garages first came, they didn't have the garage doors like we know today. They still had carriage-sized doors, which were very heavy and very cumbersome to move out of the way to then pull your vehicle in.
Absolutely. Well, now there's also a huge history when it comes to the doors itself. So let's kind of get into some of that timeline.
Right. So then after that 1950 time period where they really kind of made the doors that we're more familiar with today, then materials started changing. So up to that point, they'd really been using wood. And wood wouldn't last all that long, plus it was very heavy. So they started incorporating some other materials.
Absolutely. You know, we're looking at the doors that we have now are made of fiberglass or aluminum. We have steel doors. So it's really helped in the overall weight, the look. It's helped in the function of these doors and the overall style. We can do so much more with them now.
Right. Now, really when it comes to garage doors nowadays, if people want to spend a little bit more money, it seems like they have two different ways to go. They either go back to the old carriage style doors and they try to mimic that look, which I find very sharp, or they go the opposite direction, they go with something more modern.
Absolutely. The trend is huge. I mean, the old is new again. Carriage style doors are definitely back, or like you mentioned, modern, where we're adding windows or going completely flush. The great thing about the new materials that have come out is we are able to make the doors look old again or look like wood, but be made of a more sensible material, which is really popular.
Right. Now let's talk about the sizes of these garages. So between 1900 and 1930, it's traditionally just a one-car garage, and that's because most families only owned one car. It was roughly about a 20 by 12. Now then they moved to two-car garages. They realized, wow, these garages are nice. We can store bikes and other things like that. So even if the family owned one car, still having that two-car space flexibility. And traditionally those were 20 by 20. But then people realized, and cars started getting bigger pickup trucks, SUVs. So we went to the two-car garage at 24 by 24. And then between 1980 and 2000, you're looking at more of the three-car garages, which were about 30 feet wide and then 21 feet deep. And now today, I mean, the sky's the limit. We've built 4, 5, 6, 7-car garages on some of these. I kid around, it's like we're building a garage with a house connected to it.
Well, we've built garages that are larger than the house itself. I mean, how amazing is that?
Yeah. So as you can see, there's a lot to talk about with garages. We have a lot coming up in this show, so stay tuned.
Lonnie, they just got done talking about the evolution of the garage in general. Let's talk a little bit about the evolution of the inside of the garages.
Again, about 120 years ago, we began to build these buildings. We went from carriage house to these garage buildings. They basically consisted of just bare walls. You could look up and see the rafters and the joists, and just a basic roof. And then they had these big swinging doors out there. That's how you got in and out. Very cumbersome, I might add. Actually, I sold houses back in Fort Wayne where there were still dirt floors, which is what that was the case. And those still exist today in Fort Wayne.
So then, Lonnie, in the 50s is when things started changing. And you were just talking about the swinging doors. Now these doors were starting to go up into the ceiling type area. That changed the world. Doing concrete floors for the garages changed it, putting the paneling on the walls, doing more shelving on the walls. These are the starts of the evolution of the garage as we see it today.
And also the spring load system of the garage door made it easier to use. And then also, about the same time, homeowner communities begin to say, we want an attached garage on every house in this community. And that really changed things. Yes, and then by around 2000, we began to put things like epoxy flooring into our garages. And speaking of finish, we actually use the same interior products on the garage as we're used in the home. The same interior trim, the same drywall, the same paint. It was really an extension of the house.
The same TV jacks, because we're putting more and more TVs in. We're seeing Wi-Fi extenders going into the garages so that they can get the good Wi-Fi going throughout the entire garage area. Tony mentioned earlier how most Americans don't even come through their front door anymore because they're coming through the garage into the house. They're really dressing it up and putting in cabinets and cubbies and lockers. And they're making this so that is the family foyer to go into the house.
Right, there's companies out there now that will actually come out and look at your garage space and actually design special storage space and special things for that garage because it's a special area of your home today.
And if you have an idea of what you would like to see your garage turned into, as well as hold your cars, we at Granite Ridge would love to sit down and talk to you about your plans for your garage and your future.
Elizabeth, I love that in the Granite Ridge showroom, we have garage doors to be able to show people how many options there are. We have panel styles. We can even then show our garage door opener, how quiet it is because of the nylon rollers that you see there. They're so great.
It is quiet. Now I love the door behind us, this demonstration. This is actually a stain look on the garage door.
Yes, there's so many different color options that you can do with your garage door, and we're talking in this show how much of an impact the garage door has on the overall look of your home, and so the color really does matter. You can do a lot of different colors, whether it matches your trim color, your siding color, or you can go with a little bit of an accent, and this is a wood grain look, but it's still that fiberglass, so no maintenance, which is a huge feature.
And this one is really dressed up. We've added the hardware on it. It's just a faux look. And then of course the windows in the door as well.
I love all the different options that we give people for the garage doors, and there are just so many out there, but you can see several here where you can have some obscure glass in your windows or clear glass in the windows, all sorts of different window grill styles that you have. We also have the different panel styles, so you can see here this one's a long, and then you even have a V-groove or that beadboard craftsman look. So it's a great demonstration here to show how many options, and it almost seems endless. We'd love for you to come into our showroom, demonstrate the one we have here, and talk about all of your options.
When it comes to garage doors, this really is the new front door, like we said before. A lot of times this is where families are coming in and out of their house, and so this garage door is a big part of what we're doing every day. So when you look into it, you're going to see the garage door opener, which is what most of us think of when we think about this garage door, but there's so much more involved to make this garage door open and close.
Yeah, when we start at the garage door, it basically just drives everything, but there's a lot more components that make this process work. So the garage door opener is ran by a belt. It runs all the way back to the door, and then that is connected to what we call torsion springs.
Yeah, these big, huge springs behind us, they look pretty dangerous, but they actually hold a lot of torque, way more than I ever thought.
So these springs behind us have 600 pounds of torque per spring. There's 2 springs on this door, so that's 1,200 pounds of lifting force on this door alone. So it's an 800-pound door, 1,200 pounds of lifting force. We have to have that extra overkill because this door goes up and down 3 to 5 times a day.
Well, unless it's summertime and then you're at my house and it's 3 to 5 times per child is what's going to open. That's how that's going to work.
Yep. So let's talk about a little bit of the Granite Ridge difference when it comes to garage doors. So on these doors, inside the tracks that you see going all the way up and down that the door follows, we use nylon rollers. Now this makes the process carefree.
Yeah.
It's a lot quieter, and it also, there's no maintenance with it.
And then in 1992, something really happened that made garage doors really excel and become much more safe for the family.
So the safety sensor came out, and what it did was it prevented a lot of injuries and deaths because there was nothing stopping the door from coming down before. Once you pressed the button, it was going all the way down. And you know, children and pets would get underneath of those doors, and then there were several incidences where people were hurt or killed.
Mike, let's get a real quick recap of the whole anatomy of this garage door.
Yeah, Izzy. So we have the garage door opener, which everybody knows. We have the torsion springs, the tube shaft that holds the torsion springs up, the cable that runs through the door, the track that the door follows when it's opening, the safety sensors, there's a retainer and bottom seal, the rollers, and the drum. And probably the most important piece of this entire anatomy is the support strut that runs on the backside of each panel.
So the main door now, the front door for most families is this garage door, and that's a big reason why we have to make sure it looks great and is very well operated.
So we've talked about the garage door in the garage, but there are other doors, we might call them auxiliary doors or specialty doors, that we want to address.
Yes, you've got the main door, again, being the garage door that rises and closes, but then when you walk into the house, you would have that be called a man door, a person door, or I would call it a family door because that's where most of the time your family's going to go in and out of your house.
Right, and it's very important to think about the width of that door. A lot of times you put a 2.8 in there, but really A 210 or a 3-foot makes it a lot more convenient if you're carrying a briefcase or groceries or a kid. Think about the width of that door.
And there's all kinds of other doors that you can have inside the garage too. We would say an auxiliary door or a service door is another one that you might want to consider. It's a great way in my house that I've used to get my trash bins from outside the back out to the curbside, going just straight through that little man door. And of course, if you're going outside, out back to do any kind of other yard work, it's an easy door to use.
And where you place that door, and again, the width of that door and putting a deadbolt in that door are considerations for that particular door. Also, a lot of times we'll put a door, it's kind of like a garage door in the back of the garage.
That's one of my favorites.
It allows for, like the lawnmower or even a boat can be slid out the back versus the front. There's also the attic door or the pull-down staircase in the garage. And today we have to be concerned about fire ratings, so it's a little more pricey, but it's a very great place to get up into the attic for storage purposes.
And of course, we've shown before the idea of these Versa lifts, something that can also be used, another kind of door that can be used inside your garage.
Yeah, it's kind of like what we call a dumbwaiter maybe, where it's a plate where it slides up and down, lets you get stuff up there that for storage purposes again.
And we can't forget pet owners too. We've got a lot of people who love to take care of their pets, and oftentimes in the garage you can do a pet door.
Right, and sometimes the pet door is put in another door, and it has a removable door, hinged door, and it can be put on a dog collar and attached where the dog approaches the door and it opens up automatically. I've actually got one of those at my house.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, there certainly are lots of different types of doors that are used inside a garage besides just the one that goes up and down. And I think we've covered almost all of them.
I think so. Come and talk to Granite Ridge. We're going to talk to you about doors in the house as well as in the garage.
Kayla, we're going to talk about trends when it comes to garages. And really, that's a pretty wide range of things we can cover because it's one of the few areas in the house that's kind of a blank slate when people move in, and they can do all sorts of things. And we've seen some pretty creative things they've done out here.
Absolutely. You know, you can tell that the garage has become more and more popular when it comes to trends because in the last several years, it really has just been something that it's been an extension of the home. That space that they didn't have in the house, they've moved to the garage. And like we mentioned earlier, they're not even parking cars in there because now we're doing home gyms and home offices and huge storage areas in our garages.
Right. And, you know, I've seen people do things with craft rooms out in garages. We've already kind of talked about how, you know, moving TVs out there and setting up furniture and creating this nice space where people can hoot and holler for the game and be as loud as they want, and they're not really affecting the people inside the house. But then that, you know, people start taking it a step further. They want to be more comfortable in that space. So then they start messing with some of the finishes in here. Let's talk about floors.
Absolutely. So we do a lot of garage floor coatings right now for several reasons. It really is something that dresses up the garage and puts that more finished look to it.
Yeah. Now, of course, you want to be comfortable. So then you got to talk about, well, we live in Indiana, so there's going to be cold months. So heating and cooling this space too. We've seen people do different things with radiant heat in the garage floor. There's of course space heaters. There's just different ways of creating that comfortable environment out there.
Now practically we see a lot of different things when people are building new homes when it comes to ceiling heights. Several different reasons could be if they have car lifts, they need some taller ceilings. If they're storing boats in their garages.
And don't forget about RVs. Lots of people own RVs now. So now let's talk about lighting because that's part of being comfortable. So we have nice bright lights in this garage, but really you can't replace windows.
Absolutely not. You're putting windows in garage doors, but even just the faces of the garage itself. And with those tall ceiling heights, don't forget about clear story windows are a really great way to have some nice high natural light coming in.
Yep, and then we see things with electrical being done too. So sometimes people have woodworking shops out there or welding, you know, so they're making sure that they're setting this up for that. But then don't forget electric cars. They're here, they're not going anywhere. So making sure we have plugs in our garages to accept the charging of those cars.
Well, now don't forget to talk about my favorite area. You can't forget about your pets because they're a huge part of the home. So we're doing a lot of pet showers, pet stations, just mud areas, and it doesn't have to be for a pet. If you live out in the country, it's a great place to wash off your muddy boots instead of going into the house.
Now, in order to be comfortable in here, you have to have spots for all your stuff that's out here. So let's talk about organization.
We really need organization. I don't want to see all the clutter. And I'm telling you right now, I have seen garages that have cabinets that are as good as kitchen cabinets, probably better than kitchen cabinets. They're very important. All the organizational pieces and parts that go to that, it really takes up a large part of the garage.
And they're designed for garages. They're thicker. They're 3/4 inch, you know, in some cases to be able to handle car batteries being thrown in and tools.
And they're even floating too, so you can clean underneath them, which is a really great feature.
Well, there's no doubt about it, Kayla. A garage used to be more for storage and storing your cars, and now it's a place where people are spending quality time with their family out there.
Mike, I was over at a buddy's house this weekend. He was telling me how he was going to blow up his garage. So we decided we were going to look up some of the more expensive garages. My buddy can't even touch these.
Yeah. So a couple of locations in New York, you have the garage next to Harrods's, almost $1 million. And then there's another garage in New York there. It's all location, it's a one parking spot garage.
And then you go into the extreme, like you have the royal family of Dubai, where they literally have a $13 million garage. Now, really, that's the cars in the garage, but still.
Yeah. Then we got Jay Leno's garage, which is a massive collection.
Oh, cars, motorcycles, everything. And from Jay Leno, you can go to Jerry Seinfeld, because he's got a Porsche collection,
large Porsche
second
collection.
to none.
Yep. Then John Travolta's garage, which is more of an air hangar at that point. He can park airplanes in there as well.
One of the coolest garages is a guy who does car auctions. His name's Craig Jackson. He's got a garage in Arizona worth over $3 billion.
Now, Tony, this polo that you're wearing here helped pay for Ralph Lauren's garage, which is an amazing collection in itself.
I'm glad I could help him out. If you want to see some of the more exclusive garages and some of the more exquisite garages, you can check out pictures online all the time, and we're glad you're watching this one.
Man, I love how it
right.
suggests the name when that door opens on the floor. That's so cool.
Steve! I'm sorry, that was good.
All right, guys. Well, Addison, I can't thank you enough for bringing the vehicle.
Really?
In my opinion, it made the
That
show.
was awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
So if you guys need a sweet car in your garage, talk to my buddy here at Addison at Sweet Cars. He's the guy to go to.
Yeah, I hope we've proven to you today, garages are the most important room by far in any custom home. What did you guys find most interesting today?
For me, it was how the garage is the social hub for a lot of people, a social hub of the neighborhood. It's like you open the garage door up, all the neighbors can come on over.
And that's
you
what the
have
man
TV
cave
and
for
everything.
and the she cave.
Bar open.
And again, we mentioned 3-car garages now are so popular. What you got to remember, though, is get the size right. We built a lot of 3-car garages where we got to really pay attention to the width. Otherwise, you can't get out of here.
In other words, what you're saying is they want more than a 3-car garage now.
They want a big 3-car garage.
Okay. They're going to here. 4, 5 cars.
6.
I love talking about the trends in garages, how they've really evolved into man caves and entertainment areas. We have garage floor coatings, pet showers. I mean, really, it's a huge extension of the home.
And a garage is a place for innovation and creativity, like we talked about earlier. Yeah. Those companies that got their start out of their garage, starts in something like this and turns into those tech giants that.
So which ones were the best ones that you think?
You got Microsoft, Dell, Amazon, Apple, Google, Disney, Harley-Davidson, Hewlett-Packard, Mattel, Yankee Candle Company. Wow. It's an endless.
So what you're saying is if you want to start a corporation, start it in your garage.
Yeah. I get it. Uncle Steve, wait, can you think of any other bands that we haven't mentioned yet that started in garages?
One of the bands that I can think of is one of my favorites is Nirvana.
And Dave Grohl, by extension, the Foo Fighters.
Okay, we got to close, guys. Hopefully you found out that this was very, very informative. Kayla, would you close for us?
Absolutely. Thank you all so much for joining us today. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about who we are, what we do, and why we do what we do so well, please pick up the phone and give us a call, visit our website, or even better yet, come into any one of our garages and our open houses. We'd love to talk to you about building a new home.
All right, Steve, give us one of your songs.
Okay.